They threw my belongings onto the front lawn on Christmas Eve. 23 years of service, of loyalty, of love, and it all ended with my clothes scattered across the frozen grass while the family I'd erased laughed from the warmth of the mansion. But what they didn't know, what none of them could have possibly imagined, was that in exactly 24 hours I would own everything they held dear. My name is Elena Rodriguez, and this is the story of how one Christmas dinner changed everything. I was 17 when I first walked through the iron gates of the Whitmore Estate. Fresh from Mexico, barely speaking English, desperate for work to send money back to my dying mother. Mrs. Catherine Whitmore hired me on the spot. Not because she was kind, but because I was cheap labor and asked no questions. For the first 5 years, I cleaned, cooked, and stayed invisible. That's what they wanted, a ghost who kept their mansions spotless and their secrets buried. But everything changed when old Mr. Theodore Whitmore, Catherine's father-in-law, had his stroke. He was 92, a widower, and suddenly completely dependent on others. Catherine made it clear she had no intention of caring for him. "That's what we pay you for, Elena," she said, waving her manicured hand dismissively. So I became his caretaker. I fed him, bathed him, sat with him through the long nights when he couldn't sleep. Theodore was different from his family. Despite his wealth, despite his prestigious background, he treated me like a human being. He asked about my mother, my dreams, my life. He taught me English properly, not the broken commands his family barked at me. He told me stories about building his company from nothing, about the importance of integrity, about how wealth reveals character rather than creates it. In those quiet moments, he became the father I'd lost, and I became the daughter he'd always wanted. His actual family, however, was a different story. His son Robert was a pompous investment banker who visited once a month out of obligation. Catherine, Robert's wife, was a social climber who cared more about her country club status than anything else. Their children were worse. Marcus, the oldest at 28, was a trust fund brat who'd never worked a day in his life. His sister Vanessa was a shallow socialite whose only talent was spending money. And the youngest, Derek, was a gambling addict who constantly begged his grandfather for cash to pay off debts. For 18 years, I watched them take everything from Theodore while giving nothing back. They'd show up for holidays, fake smiles plastered on their faces, pretending to care while calculating their inheritance. Theodore saw through it all. "They think I'm senile, Elena," he told me one night, his eyes sharp and clear. "They think I don't notice how they count the silverware, how they measure the square footage, how they've already divided everything I own. But I notice everything." 6 months before that terrible Christmas Eve, Theodore called his lawyer to the house. I thought nothing of it. Rich people always had lawyers visiting. But that night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Theodore asked me to come to his study. He looked tired, older somehow, as if he'd made a decision that weighed heavily on his soul. "Elena, I need to tell you something," he said, gesturing for me to sit. That alone was revolutionary. In 23 years, no Whitmore had ever invited me to sit in their presence. I've changed my will. When I die, everything goes to you. The house, the company, the investments, all of it. My family will receive a small monthly stipend, enough to live comfortably if they're smart about it, but nothing more. I couldn't breathe. Mr. Theodore, I can't accept this. They're your family. They'll destroy me. He took my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. They're my blood, Elena, but you're my family. You've been the only person in 20 years who cared whether I lived or died. You sat with me through pneumonia when they were in Aspen. You celebrated my birthday when they forgot. You've earned this, and more importantly, you'll use it wisely. They'll waste it on cars and clothes and meaningless status symbols. Promise me you'll accept it. What could I say? I promised, but I begged him not to tell anyone. Not yet. I was terrified of what the family would do if they found out. Theodore agreed, but made me promise something in return. When the time comes, be strong. Don't let them intimidate you. You're worth more than all of them combined. He died on December 20th, peacefully, in his sleep, with me holding his hand. I wept like I'd lost my own father. The Whitmore family wept too, but their tears were for their inheritance, not for the man they'd lost. The funeral was scheduled for December 23rd, and the will reading for December 26th, the day after Christmas. The lawyer, Mr. Harrison, advised this timing. He wanted the family to have Christmas together before the bombshell dropped. But Catherine had other plans for me. The day after the funeral, she called me into the study, the same room where Theodore had changed my life. Elena, we've decided we no longer need your services. We're selling the estate, and the new owners will hire their own staff. You have until Christmas Eve to vacate the premises. I was stunned. But Mrs. Whitmore, I've been here for 23 years. Don't I get any severance, any notice? She laughed, actually laughed. Severance, for a housemaid. You've had free room and board for 2 decades. Elena, that's more than generous. Consider yourself lucky we don't charge you rent retroactively. Now, go pack your things. I wanted to tell her about the will, about how in 2 days she'd be begging for my mercy, but I remembered Theodore's words. Be strong. Don't let them intimidate you. So I simply nodded and left. I packed my meager belongings, everything I owned fitting into 2 old suitcases. As I carried them down the grand staircase one last time, the family gathered to watch.
Marcus was recording on his phone, laughing. Smile, Elena. This is your exit interview. Vanessa was on the couch, not even looking up from her phone. Make sure she doesn't steal anything, Mother. You know how these people are. Derek just sneered. Good riddance. Maybe now we can hire someone who actually speaks proper English. Robert said nothing, but he didn't stop them either. He just stood there, drinking on, watching his family humiliate a woman who'd served them faithfully for over 2 decades. And Catherine was the worst. She opened the front door herself, gesturing dramatically. Merry Christmas. Elena, don't let the door hit you on the way out. They threw my bags onto the lawn. It was snowing, and my belongings scattered across the frozen ground. I gathered them as quickly as I could, my fingers numb, my heart shattered. I could hear them laughing inside, celebrating their cruelty like it was entertainment. I had nowhere to go. My apartment had been here, in Tiesta. I had savings, but not enough for a hotel during the holidays, so I did what I had to do. I went to the cemetery where Theodore was buried, and spent Christmas Eve sitting by his grave, telling him about what his family had done. "I know you're watching," I whispered into the cold night air. "I know you see them for what they really are. Give me strength tomorrow. Help me honor you the way you honored me." I spent the night in a shelter downtown, surrounded by people who'd lost everything. But unlike them, I knew that in 24 hours, my life would change forever. I just had to survive until then. Christmas Day was the longest day of my life. I called Mr. Harrison, confirming the will reading was still scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. "Miss Rodriguez," he said, his voice warm with sympathy. "I heard what they did to you. I'm sorry, but I promise you, justice is coming." Mr. Whitmore made sure of that. I spent the day volunteering at the shelter's Christmas dinner, serving food to the homeless, trying to keep my mind off what was coming. These people, who had nothing, thanked me with more grace and kindness than the Whitmores had shown in 23 years. The next morning, I borrowed a simple black dress from the shelter coordinator and took a bus to the lawyeress office. My hands were shaking as I walked into the conference room. The Whitmore family was already there, dressed in expensive black, fake solemn expressions on their faces. When they saw me, the masks dropped. "What is she doing here?" Catherine demanded. "This is a private family matter." Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses. Miss Rodriguez was specifically requested to be present by Mr. Theodore Whitmore. "Please, everyone, take a seat." I sat at the far end of the table, feeling their hostile stares. Marcus whispered something to Vanessa that made her giggle. Derek looked bored, checking his watch repeatedly. Robert and Catherine sat at the head of the table, already counting their money. Mr. Harrison began reading. The first part was standard legal language, declarations of sound mind, previous wills revoked, etc. Then came the book. "To my son Robert, I leave the sum of $5,000 per month for life, provided he maintains employment and commits no criminal acts." Robert's face went red. $5,000. Father's estate is worth $50 million. Mr. Harrison continued, unmoved. "To my daughter-in-law, Catherine, I leave my collection of costume jewelry and a monthly stipend of $3,000, provided she performs 100 hours of community service annually." Catherine stood up, shrieking. "Costume jewelry. Those pieces are worthless. This is insane." The grandchildren's bequests were even smaller. Marcus received a trust fund that paid out $2,000 monthly. Vanessa got the same. Derek received $1,000, with the stipulation that it would increase to $2,000 only after he completed a certified addiction treatment program. They were screaming now, all of them, calling Theodore senile, threatening to contest, demanding answers. Mr. Harrison raised his hand. The bulk of the estate, including the Whitmore mansion, the company, all investments, properties, and assets, totaling approximately $48 million. I leave to Miss Elena Maria Rodriguez, who has shown me more love, loyalty, and genuine care than my own blood ever did. The room went silent. Then, explosive. Catherine lunged across the table at me. "You manipulated him. You seduced him. You poisoned his mind against his own family." Robert grabbed her, but he was yelling too. "We'll fight this. No court will let a housemaid steal our inheritance." Mr. Harrison's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Sit down, all of you, or I'll have security remove you. Mr. Whitmore anticipated your reaction. That's why he had his doctor perform a complete cognitive evaluation 1 month before his death. He was found to be of completely sound mind. Furthermore, he left a video statement explaining his decision. Would you like to see it?" Tay sat down, stunned and furious. Mr. Harrison pressed play on a laptop. Theodore's face filled the screen, and I felt tears streaming down my cheeks. He looked tired but determined. "If you're watching this, I'm gone. And if you're angry, good. You should be. You should be angry at yourselves for making this necessary. For 23 years, Elena Rodriguez has been more of a family to me than any of you. He went through it all. Every missed birthday, every holiday they'd skipped, every time they'd treated him like an inconvenience. Every time they'd treated Elena like she was invisible. She earned every penny. I'm leaving her. She earned it with compassion, with loyalty, with the simple act of treating me like a human being. If you want to contest this will, go ahead, but ask yourself first, when was the last time you sat with me? Talked to me? Cared whether I was happy or sad or scared? Elena did that every single day. She earned this fortune more than any of you ever could. The video ended. The room was silent, except for Catherine's quiet sobbing. But these weren't tears of remorse. These were tears of rage and humiliation. Marcus was the first to speak. You'll regret this, Elena. We'll make your life hell. We'll sue you into oblivion. I stood up, and for the first time in 23 years, I let them see the strength Theodore had always known was there. You're welcome to try. But let me make something clear. I don't want revenge. I want justice. The estate stays with me. The company stays with me. But I'm not heartless like you think. Your stipends will continue as long as you follow the conditions. And if you can prove you've changed, if you can show genuine remorse and growth, we can discuss increasing them. But if you contest this will, if you come after me legally, I'll donate every penny to charity and you'll get nothing. Robert's face was purple. You can't do that? That's our money. Our birthright. No, I said quietly. It was Theodore's money, and he chose to give it to someone who actually loved him. You have two choices. Accept his decision and the generous monthly stipends he left you, which is more than you deserve, or fight me and lose everything. Your call. They chose to fight. Of course, they hired expensive lawyers and filed contest after contest. But Theodore had been thorough. Every document was airtight, every evaluation perfect, every witness credible. 6 months later, the courts ruled in my favor. The Whitmore family lost their case and, according to the terms Theodore had specified, lost their stipends as well for contesting the will. The mansion is mine now. I've turned part of it into a home for elderly people who have nowhere else to go. People like Theodore who deserve dignity and care in their final years. I run Theodore's company with the help of advisors he'd trusted, and it's thriving. Ivy quintupled the Christmas bonuses for all employees and implemented fair wages for service staff across all our properties. The Whitmore family. Robert works a regular job now, for the first time in his life. Catherine volunteers at a soup kitchen, though I suspect it's more about trying to appeal to me than genuine change. Marcus, Vanessa, and Derek are learning what it means to earn rather than inherit. I see them sometimes around town. They don't speak to me, but I see the anger in their eyes slowly being replaced with something else. Not quite respect, not yet, but maybe understanding, maybe the beginning of the growth Theodore hoped they'd find. This Christmas, I'll set an extra place at my table. It's a tradition I started last year. An empty chair with Theodore's picture beside it, reminding me why I'm here and what he believed I could become. The house is filled now, not with fake smiles and calculated manipulations, but with genuine laughter from people who appreciate every blessing. And when I look at that empty chair, I whisper the same thing I whispered at his grave that cold Christmas Eve. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for teaching me that family is not about blood, but about love. The Whitmores thought they were expelling a housemaid. They had no idea they were discarding their inheritance. But more than that, they discarded their chance at redemption, their chance to be the family Theodore always hoped they could be. That's the real tragedy. Not the money they lost, but the love they never valued until it was too late. Ready to hear more stories that will challenge everything you think you know about justice and redemption? Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because these incredible true stories will leave you speechless. Comment below, telling us what you would do if you were in Elena's position. Would you show mercy or walk away? And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness is never wasted, even when it seems invisible. Your support helps us bring these powerful stories to light.